Be gone, son!
Trouble, it's getting out of hand.
When you think fighting games, you probably think Mortal Kombat. But Street Fighter 2 is what really kicked off the popularity of the genre. Well, the company behind that hit, Capcom, also made another fighting franchise that doesn't get as much attention, Darkstalkers.
I give it double, baby, I'm the trouble man.
While Street Fighter was fairly grounded with mostly human martial artists throwing punches and maybe a stretchy arm or fireball, Darkstalkers had no limits, featuring all sorts of terrifying creatures with far more animation frames. Zombies, Frankensteins, mummies, questionably aged succubuses. It was a game that took inspiration from American animation like Disney, WB, or Hanna-Barbera. When you look at these bouncy special moves, the idea that the Looney Tunes was an influence kinda makes sense. Darkstalkers also has its own mechanics to set itself apart from other fighters, but I don't know anything about that. Too bad the game's never sold well and is primarily known as, hey, it's that one Batgirl my favorite artist drew covered in bodily fluids. Despite the obscurity, this series got an American cartoon in 1995. Why?
Monstrous, awesome contenders with bizarre fighting powers. Immortal creatures locked in battle to decide the fate of the world. It's enough to make your blood run cold.
Look, it was the 90s. If you had a toy or game to promote, a cartoon is what you need, which is so weird. I can somewhat better understand an American cartoon based on Mortal Kombat because Americans are more accepting of violence. But Darkstalkers is a lot more sensual. The most popular character, Morrigan, is a succubus. You know, a demon that steals people's life force through sex.
Hyper combo, finish! KO!
They kinda keep that in, except she just kisses people, so that kinda works. And somehow this almost naked Catgirl's design isn't too far off from her game's counterpart. It's amazing this got through at a time when cartoons like Beavis and Butthead and The Simpsons were highly controversial. But sometimes, in order to be controversial, you actually need to be popular. With 13 episodes, no one cared about the Darkstalkers cartoon, but what was so bad about it that I consider it the worst video game cartoon ever? Like, worse than Mega Man or Sonic Underground. Well, let's find out why Darkstalkers is the 17th worst cartoon ever. In no particular order. It's Juice and Jam time! The cartoon streamlines everything into what is basically X-Men but with monsters. Two factions of creatures live secretly among us. The good want peace while the bad want to rule over humans and call them a honky. The evil are led by a holographic Charizard that's trying to recruit more monsters.
Pyron, intergalactic collector of planets, wants the Earth, and he's going to get it even if he has to wake the undead.
On the side of good, we follow a Catwoman who refuses to join him. Felicia, who wakes up in the room of a teenage boy. Despite the scenario resembling my high school fantasies, it's here where we meet the real main character. This new kid who was never in the games, Harry Grimori, the Chris Thorndike of Darkstalkers. He's a descendant of Merlin and a young wizard in training. A young wizard named Harry, which, may I remind you, this predates Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling's a fucking hack.
Hey! Help! Let go of me!
It's a straightforward good versus evil premise, but Darkstalkers can often make no coherent sense as to what is going on. From all the animation and story errors, the show feels like it was recorded on a machine that visualizes fever dreams. Pay attention to the curiously attractive fishman in the background of this clip.
That's a good look for you, Dimitri.
Nothing makes any sense. I've seen both this cartoon and A Scanner Darkly, and honestly, A Scanner Darkly was easier to follow. In the very first episode, one of the villains, Dimitri the Vampire, is awakened after so many years as he's abducted into an alien ship.
Are you the idiot that woke me in daylight?
Lord Dmitri Maximoff, last of the vampires. I am Pyron.
Yet in episode 10, they reuse that exact footage of his awakening.
Lord Dmitri Maximoff, last of the vampires. I am Pyron.
Except instead of him meeting up with the other villains on that ship, this segment branches off into a completely different event. Here he fights another character, Donovan the Monster Hunter, who seems to already be familiar with Dimitri.
Dimitri.
Okay.
I thought this 10th episode was maybe a flashback taking place between episodes 1 and 2, but during their battle, this little girl, Amanda, or Anita in the games, is petrified from dark magic. So Donovan seeks urgent help from the main heroes. The heroes are iffy about helping him since he tried to kill them before. That implies they're familiar with him, but he never met them until episode 2. Did he wait several episodes to mention he had a kid? Why does this 10th episode have to be connected to the first episode? How do you mess up the timeline of a 13-episode series? The logical explanation here is they simply recycled about 3 minutes of footage from the first episode due to budget issues, despite the dialogue contradicting so many events.
Run, Harry. Run, you promised. I didn't make any stupid promise.
I can't blame them. The show looks as cheap as 90s cell animation could possibly be. It was created through Murphy's Law, where any possible thing they could have screwed up has screwed up. Color errors are frequent, models are always off, characters talk while their mouths don't move, outfits randomly change between scenes.
Because knowledge is power, and we need all the power we can get.
And characters teleport to completely different locations. Nothing about this show works. Just look at the backgrounds in this clip.
I'll kill him.
I think you're a little late for that.
Lord Raptor shall feel the wrath of Dimitri.
What happened there? Even the DVD box set is a mess. First off, the cover is just plain boring, while the age rating on the back claims this is, I guess, their equivalent of a teen rating, even though this series was for kids. Oh yeah, and there's trailers for other crappy cartoons, but the audio to the trailers are swapped.
Fighting robot, Mega Man.
Street Fighter!
You know what? They're not even trailers, they're just the intros. It doesn't even tell you what DVD is up for sale. It's incredible at how little care was put into this. Darkstalkers is an action show, and even they couldn't get that right. I watched 13 episodes, and I still don't have any clue as to what their powers are exactly. Nothing is consistent or established, like, why does this happen? That's like the only time she does that. I know the games were inspired by more Western toon animation, but the cartoon makes no attempt at that. It's just bad animation and... Look, is that a reference to that one anime? Shaman King? The fighting has no weight, the camera is terrible, and sometimes they just forget to add special effects. I think my favorite errors are whenever the animators, God bless them, try to draw Felicia, yet never get her patterns consistent. Oh no, a female bare ass in an American cartoon, that's illegal. But as bad as the show looks, is there a good story? No. Why would you assume that? It's just a generic toy cartoon ruined by bad pacing and comedy clashing with seriousness.
Give me the ring!
You want it? Go get it!
Why, thank you.
Here's another confusing mistake. In episode 5, they go to some ancient ruins and we cut to this statue as a sort of establishing shot. Why is this statue playing with a yo-yo? Is it magic? Is the statue magic? Is the yo-yo magic? I really don't know. It's never acknowledged again, but I have a theory. Maybe it was supposed to be a necklace dangling in the wind or something, but maybe the overseas animation studio thought it was a yo-yo and animated as such. I'm guessing that's what it was. If you have any better ideas, tell me, please. And also subscribe for more cartoon stuff.
Yes, yes, I will. No, no, you won't.
FYI, this show's based off the first 2 games, so later characters like BB Hood and Lilith were not included. I can't imagine how they would translate here, a Little Red Riding Hood armed with guns, knives, and bombs who hunts monsters for sport. Maybe lasers will do? What characters we do get are both terrible adaptations and terrible on their own.
Felicia! How dare you!
Now, I really gotta give credit to YouTuber The Nostalgic Gamer who made plenty of great videos about Darkstalkers history. Check those out. I wish more people would make videos on individual fighting game character histories, namely Killer Instinct. But anyway, I think the worst character they adapted was the mummy, Anakaris. Anafaris? In the games, he was a stoic pharaoh who wants the best for his empire, but in the cartoon, he's now a belligerent hobo spouting complete nonsense?
And el Bemelech begat rutabaga.
Rutabaga said... Hello, is this thing on? But seriously, folks, you can't make an omelet without breaking eggs!
Why is he like this? What happened? There's also Rico the Fishman, who is among the last of his kind. The cartoon does keep in mind he's intended to be oddly attractive, even to men.
Even though you are curiously attractive for a scaly freak.
Though you are strangely attractive for a fishman.
Even though you are curiously attractive for a fishman.
That's Merman, and you don't know me at all.
Damn, this just might be the most open bisexual representation in a 90s cartoon.
How did you become so powerful?
Die with that question on your lips, sucker.
Unironically, I will say the best character is Lord Raptor, the rock and roll zombie, inspired by Eddie, the Iron Maiden mascot. He's an unapologetic narcissist who demands fame and speaks only in music quotes.
Never fear, Raptor is here!
Do something!
Hey, I'll do anything for love. And I love rock and roll!
I am not kidding when I say the whole series should have just been about him. You gotta praise voice actor Scott McNeil, who embodies the character so well that he also voiced Raptor in the anime OVA of Darkstalkers.
I don't smell a damn thing.
I just think you should be careful. Something's gonna happen, I know.
Oh, you're damn right something's gonna happen. I'm playing tonight, aren't I?
Well, no contest, the anime looks a million times better. It's a 4-part OVA that looks as good as an anime could. Granted, I've heard a lot of fans hate the anime's story. I haven't watched it, but maybe that's a video for another day. But I've said that about other videos, so I guess it's never happening. We'll be back after these messages.
Darkstalkers will return.
Have a happy and safe Halloween from all of us here at CKVR.
You're watching the Doritos Fox Halloween Horror Night! Look for these displays wherever you buy Doritos!
Hi, I'm Ed McMahon. And I'm Joe Public from Kiss 108. The Doritos Fox Halloween Horror Nights are made possible by Universal Studios, Florida. And U.S. Air, the #1 airline for Florida travel now, is tonight's winner.
And now, back to Darkstalkers.
People, get ready! It's time for the wide world of Raptor! My name is Raptor, and showbiz is my game. I struck my stuff, and so you know my name.
Give me a name!
One thing I will praise about the American show is the Canadian voice actor. Wait a minute. These Canadian voices, who've also worked in the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z, sound great. They really match the characters, and I dare say, Episode 6, Ghost Hunters, feels like the writer was giving it their all. An episode about Hisinko. In the game, Cinco committed suicide to become a Chinese vampire, while her sister did the same to become a sorcerer that controls Cinco. It's complicated. In this episode, Hisinko is not a blue Chinese vampire, but instead she becomes a ghost after eating some magic powder.
I found what I thought was a jar of rice. I was so hungry I ate it without tasting it first. It was an ancient powder made of ground topaz.
You dumbass! Hisinko dies while her sister is killed by Dimitri. It's not as explicit as the games, but turning Hisinko into a girl seeking revenge is still pushing it. I gotta give props for the implication that the villain, Dimitri, who's mostly been a joke of a character, straight up killed a person.
You deprived me of my parents, my sister, my childhood, and my life. Over 100 years of guilt for escaping you when they could not. I vow that you shall never harm anyone else ever again!
It's still pretty goofy, but this strangely feels more ambitious than the typical episode. Bless the writer Catherine Lawrence for putting in the effort. Who even made this cartoon? Why, it's Graz Entertainment, known for, hey, the 90s X-Men cartoon, The Tick, and, Street Fighter the cartoon, G.I. Joe Extreme, and Skeleton Warriors. Yeah, while they made a few classics, a lot of their work comprises of toy cartoons no one wants to remember. Clearly, this did not have the same care as the X-Men cartoon, despite them rehiring the same character designer, Frank Brunner. I actually emailed him about this cartoon back in 2010 for an old review, yeah.
Well, happy Halloween yet again, you people of many places. I'm Pan Pizza. And in honor of this most excellent holiday, we got another cartoon review that's based on a video game. Darkstalkers.
Yeah, I did 2 Darkstalker videos back then. I deleted them, but fan re-uploads still exist. I remember even at the time, I thought those videos were awful, so I gave up on the 3rd part. I instead watched the premiere episode of The Walking Dead that Halloween night. Those were some sad times. I had no real-life friends, couldn't go anywhere, didn't know how to drive. I didn't even know how to masturbate back then, so it was extra rough on me. Thankfully, I never gave up. Much has changed since 2010. I can masturbate now, I no longer watch The Walking Dead, but everything else remains the same. Anyway, I asked Frank Brunner about his experience. He wrote,
Darkstalkers was mindless garbage like most of the crap on TV right now. Thank the gods I didn't have to write it. Just because I worked on it doesn't mean I have to like it. My main work was on X-Men and Darkstalkers was done with little attention on my part. I still have some model roughs, but I'm too occupied right now to find them. When it truly becomes a cult classic, maybe I'll look at it again in a different light. LOL. Cheers. Frank.
Well, I'm glad I could read that email 9 years later. It's a real shame. Darkstalkers was a franchise that, for whatever reason, maybe the oversaturation of fighters, never really took off. It only got 3 mainline games, leaving the fans begging for more. Maybe if this cartoon was, you know, good, it could have been people's big introduction to the franchise in the same way animation was how many 90s kids discovered X-Men or Spider-Man. But now, Darkstalkers is forever known as, hey, it's that girl from Marvel vs. Capcom. Who knows if we'll ever see another Darkstalkers game, but what I do know is, people are still gonna draw lewds of Felicia. Yeah! Yeah! Yes.
You got that killer instinct. You win. This is Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Capcom presents. Don't be in trouble, baby, I'm a trouble man. 目覚めよ、闇に集いし者どもよ。Come on, don't you understand? I give it double, baby, I'm the trouble. そのバトルは人間を超えた対戦格闘アクションゲームヴァンパイア。プレイステーションに登場。Capcom.
Got video games on the brain at night? Uh-huh. Well, wake up!